Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for joining me for another live stream. Thank you for all of our members, subscribers, viewers, and everyone else tuning in for another live stream. I posted a video earlier on, and for those of you who are new to our live streams, these are our in-depth videos where we discuss all of our topics in more detail and obviously open the space up for the community to share their thoughts, views, and participate, and obviously ask questions as well. So welcome to all of you and thank you for joining in. If you prefer obviously shorter videos, you can head to my video section where you will find detailed short videos with regards to updates or latest developments as well. So thank you for tuning in again. And I posted a video earlier on with, it's an important video. I mean, we've been speaking about this since the beginning, since the 7th of October, really just a few weeks in, with all of the revelations coming out from Israel about Israel's complicity on the 7th of October, how it killed Israeli citizens in Re'im, in the Nova Festival, in Kibbutz Be'eri, in Nir Oz, how it targeted all of the Israelis going back, then the evidence coming out from pilots confirming that they were ordered to kill everyone going back, despite the fact that they said before that they had no orders and everything was chaotic. Now we have another revelation from Haaretz confirming that the IDF ordered the Hannibal Directive on the 7th of October. It was obviously already evident, but it's important that some of these newspapers in Israel are revealing this now. And obviously Haaretz is not one of the most popular newspapers, but still it has its weight in Israel. And the fact that they're publishing it now also is significant because Israel's trying to hide all of this. They haven't had an official inquiry for a very long time because they didn't want to dig to the problems, and they obviously wanted to continue the war and unite the nation. They didn't want anything to affect the war, according to them. Therefore, they did not want to have a state inquiry as well, although more and more people are demanding an inquiry, a full investigation to the 7th of October, something that I don't believe will happen. I do not believe that Israel as a state will have a full investigation, full, thorough, transparent investigation on the 7th of October, because it would completely destroy everything to Israel, obviously. That's what I spoke about previously in that video. You can go ahead and watch it. It's not that long. What I want to talk to you about tonight is the latest statement from Abu Obeida. He had a speech published about 17 minutes. I took the highlights from that speech just to not take too much time, obviously, but I wanted to elaborate on a couple of things before I get into his last speech. Number one, Abu Obeida is the spokesperson of Al-Qassam Brigades, which is the military wing of Hamas. He does not come out very regularly for statements or speeches. There are certain announcements, there are videos that are published by the military wing, their actions, proof, evidence, statements, that's published from time to time. But when it comes to Abu Obeida himself, he does not come out very regularly, and he sends multiple messages. Number one, by the fact that he is actually having a statement. That's number one. So there's a message there for Israel. Something substantial, important, threatening, what's coming, what's not coming, all of these things. Secondly, his speeches and his statements usually come in tense moments or during certain shifts. So now we're about to go into, for example, a ceasefire agreement. Potentially, we're hearing about the finalization, final steps, such as ceasefire. And he has a speech. Certain amounts of days, certain numbers of days, certain months, all of that is important. It has its weight when it comes to Israel, obviously, and they understand these communications from Hamas. However, in his recent speech, he highlighted a couple of things. Obviously, he began with a religious introduction, religious statements highlighting the support of God, according to him, for the fighters. And he obviously praised the fighters in Gaza and in the West Bank, Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and all the resistance fronts. And obviously he was greeting everyone who supports the Palestinian cause, the free people of the world. And he also highlighted that the primary focus is on the ongoing struggle of the Palestinian people against what he labeled as the Nazi Zionist American aggression that began in the Battle of Al-Aqsa Flood on October the 7th. He also reiterated that this battle is a response to decades of oppression and injustice by the Zionist occupation, which is accused of not recognizing, obviously, the existence of the Palestinian people. He accused them of that, obviously, and it's very well known, and practicing systematic ethnic cleansing and extermination campaigns against the Palestinian people. He also highlighted how many people supported Al-Aqsa flood in Gaza and the West Bank, which is evident, including from polls as well. Not only Al-Aqsa flood, but Hamas's popularity increased as well, not just in Palestine, but globally too. He also underscored the resilience of the Palestinian resistance despite facing severe hardships, including lack of food, water, and medicine, and continuous bombardment. Gaza is depicted as a model of freedom and resistance in the modern era. The fighters, or mujahideen, are praised for their bravery, obviously, in his speech, in fighting powerful and obviously vicious enemy. Abu Obeida accused the Israeli army of using civilians as human shields, bombing civilian areas, and destroying cultural and historical sites, something that obviously was very evident from the beginning. He said that despite the challenges, the resistance is growing stronger with new recruits. This is something important. We recruited thousands of more people. Israel was saying we dismantled. They were saying all of the brigades are active, and we recruited thousands of more people to the resistance. And that's what, like many people ask sometimes, what if other people come from other countries? Fine, well, they don't need them. They have people. More than enough people are willing to volunteer, and Israel did a massive favor with recruitment for the Palestinian resistance through its medieval barbarism supported by Western powers. That's all the recruitment you need, a barbaric enemy. Well, what more do you need against innocent civilians? He also said that they joined new fighters in different, obviously, ranks and capabilities. And he emphasized that the resistance managed to adapt and improve its tactics, again, something that's been evident on the ground and something we'll be speaking about since the beginning, really. Ever since Israel tried to split Gaza in half, and Israel admitted at the time, that was over 5 months ago, how the Palestinian resistance was moving skills and expertise from the north to the south. And some people at the time were debunking the claims, the official statements from Netanyahu and his allies about taking down certain Hamas brigades up north, due to the fact that they were passing this information and expertise in fighting, obviously. He also highlighted that the Battle of Rafah and other confrontations are presented as evidence of the resistance strength and Israel's failure. He addressed the Israeli public too, suggesting that obviously their government led by Netanyahu is sacrificing their children for political gain, something which Israelis repeat constantly. The speech also hints at further revelations. There will be further revelations and things to be exposed on how Hamas tricked the Israelis when it comes to the 7th of October. Obviously, they don't publish everything all the time due to security purposes and logistical purposes as well, to protect themselves. But he said more things are coming afterwards. He also paid attention to the resistance operations in the West Bank that are growing. And he also described what's happening there as a systematic genocide, Judaization, and settlement by the Israeli government. He encouraged the West Bank to continue fighting, and he views them as a crucial front in weakening the occupying entity. The speech obviously extended the solidarity to allied resistance groups in Lebanon, Yemen, and other regions too, recognizing their struggle and support for the common enemy. The collective resistance is portrayed as a unified front that is successfully challenging and besieging Israel and anyone supporting Israel. All in all, he obviously reaffirmed the loyalty to the Palestinian people and commitment to ending the aggression, the genocide. He emphasized the inevitability to defeat the occupying forces and the victory of the resistance. He urged patience and continued support from the people. And he also concluded everything with a call of reassurance that the ongoing struggle will lead to significant changes and strategic transformations, culminating in either victory or martyrdom. That was how he finished off everything. He made some, obviously, statements that were similar to statements that he had before, but obviously that's coming now with the talk of the ceasefire. We still haven't had a full and confirmation about the ceasefire, obviously. There are certain things that need to be met with the ceasefire, the Israeli response, and how many things will be revealed. Like there are certain things that are not really clear so far. How many people will be revealed? The time, how will the negotiations continue? What was agreed upon already? And there's a lot of censorship in Israel. So we still need to give it a couple of more days to establish an understanding of what it's going to be. So far, we obviously understood that there were amendments on certain clauses proposed initially, obviously, by the US to reignite it. Hamas showed leniency and acceptance. And then, obviously, we had the supposedly positive Israeli response and people speaking about a very high likelihood of having a ceasefire. And let me open the space up for all of you for your participation. Firstly, Sumera and ZUK, thank you so much for your super. ZUK saying, Mahmoud, do you condemn the atrocities of October the 7th when Israeli military and Air Force committed genocide on their own people? Yeah, that's the way to ask it, Z. This is the way you ask it. Do you condemn what Israel has done against its own people? Right? This is how you ask the question. You should teach the people who call themselves intellectuals so that they can use this phrase. Thank you so much for your super, my friend. Teshikoma, is it true that Hamas launched rockets into the pariah state recently? Yeah, they still have missile capabilities. They launched missiles from PIJ too, obviously Saraya al-Quds, not just Hamas, by the way. They targeted Israel. Now, mind you, many people, and they targeted central Israel just over a month ago. Many people started to claim that the Palestinian resistance doesn't have missile capability anymore. It has been severely affected and what have you. And they ignored the fact that they're engaging in more of a defense battle with Israel. But they still send them messages, so they still show them that we can target you. And they obviously target certain locations in Israel, whether it's central or areas surrounding Gaza. And by the way, with the areas surrounding Gaza, when they send missiles there, that's sending a message to the population, putting more stress on the government. It's showing the government in such a weak position because they've been committing this barbaric genocide for 9 months now to supposedly eliminate Hamas and get rid of the threat of Gaza and bring back the hostage, and they have achieved nothing so far. And they will not. What is that sending to the Israeli people? And in return, what is happening in these areas? These areas are extremely important when it comes to Israel. When it comes to productivity, agriculture, lots of factories are in those areas. And when you don't have people around them, you don't have that productivity. And you're already talking about a country that's suffering tremendously from an economic perspective to levels that are not even published yet. All of that is a problem. And the Palestinian resistance does it deliberately. Muhammad Itani, Mahmoud Salam brother, hello, Salam brother. Is there a ceasefire in Gaza? Will Israel go to full war with Lebanon? That was obviously an estimate. Israel already said before that we treat the two fronts as separate fronts. There have been multiple attempts from international countries, including ones who are very close to Israel in the form of the United States and other European countries, trying to de-escalate, trying to prevent such a war, but primarily the United States, because the United States is the country that will suffer most if Israel escalates with Lebanon, because that will simply, most likely, break the agreement that they had with Iran in January to stop the attacks on US bases in Iraq. And that will reignite it, obviously. So clearly, in US and Iran had certain deals. Like Iran probably said, US, you can't intervene with military force, with Israel, for example. And we can stop the attacks in Iraq, but we won't stop the attacks in the other fronts. Hezbollah in Yemen continued, and the Iraqi resistance continued, but not on bases in Iraq, but outside, but on Israel. So they continued on Israel. That will cause a massive problem because the US has a lot of weakness in Iraq. They still have certain bases. They will have a lot of casualties. They'll face a lot of trouble, and they don't need that. And regardless of their strategic view with Israel, there's a limit. Now, they already made statements. Firstly, we will not be able to defend you the way we defended you with Iran. Number one, they told them we will not participate. They gave them a cold shoulder. Then now they're telling them we can't defend you the way we defended you with Iran, signaling that not only we won't be participating, but our defense capabilities to you will not be the same as they were with Iran. Now, that's obviously a statement, but that's also down to factual things on the ground. Number one, Hezbollah is most likely going to be short-range missiles, not ballistic missiles. Secondly, Israel already has 8 air defense systems. Iron Dome, David's Sling, and 6 more as well. Some of them for short range, some of them for medium range, some of them can reach space, right? And obviously the Iron Dome is the most capable one, and we saw how weak it is, and the fact that it does not provide an answer to Hezbollah. Israel is considering all of that, but again, some analysts take that as evidence that Israel will not support. But the fact of the matter is, Israel is not led by people who act based on reason or a strategic view or a military view in mind or a political view in mind or your global stance in mind. Nothing of the sort. You're talking about radical, bigoted, racist, abhorrent individuals, right, that act out of vengeance and through barbarism. And that's evident. Their genocide in Gaza, 9 months of genocide, full-blown genocide and destruction and infanticide, killing every lifeline of this town, shooting and killing people for fun. 40,000, if not more, including the people who are missing, over 90,000 wounded. That's killed and wounded. Over 17,000 children killed in infanticide. The majority of the people killed women. They target people deliberately and kill. With all of that, did they achieve any military accomplishments? They have any military accomplishments? No, they haven't. And how do you establish that? Based on your objective, from a military perspective. You tell me what's your objective. Have you achieved it? No. If not, then what does that mean? You failed politically. more torn, more division, more instability, economically, devastation, their global position, catastrophical, diabolical. So they did not act based on reason. So there is an opportunity for them to act ignorantly with Lebanon, too, even if it's with a limited strike. Although that will not guarantee what the response will be, and they would not be able to finish it once they start it. But that's what's happening. They thought by using all of this military barbarism supported by certain countries that they will make Hamas kneel down. And the fact of the matter is, Hamas and the Palestinian people made Israel kneel down and put its head in the sand. They defeated them. They humiliated them in the past 9 months. The fact that these people are surviving, the fact that the resistance is still there and getting stronger, that's utter, total humiliation for Israel. Now, if they had an ounce of brain, they wouldn't dare go to Lebanon. But again, do they act rationally? They don't act rationally. So they can go and be ignorant with Lebanon. They'll think, okay, limited military campaign. Their preparations are there, by the way. Their preparations are there. They have Division 36 has been deployed there for several months now. They are already training the people who left Gaza and were deployed to Lebanon. They were already trained on terrain resembling mountainous terrain in Lebanon. They claim that they have enough firepower for them. And they already warned the public in Israel, officially too, from bad days to come, and the fact that they need to prepare food, prepare for electricity shortage, lack of water, lack of medicine, lack of transportation. All of that signal that there is preparation. Do they really want it? I don't think they do. Can they go without it? They can, but again, it will set a precedent. You see, it's now people need to understand this. It's no longer the case that Israel is calling the shots. It's the resistance movements calling the shots. Hamas, when they did a 7th of October, they shoved something really thick up where when it comes to Israel. And they didn't give them good options. Israel had 2 options at the time after the 7th of October. Number 1, concede and review, which was the least harmful option. So the 2 options were bad. Number 1, concede, review, reach a deal, and then think what you're going to do with Hamas. But get your people back, have a deal, don't. The other option was to go on a full-scale war and an invasion, by the way, something that not many people expected, that they will actually go and invade after so many failed attempts before. And they repeated the same mistakes that they've done previously so many times, having the target of eliminating Hamas, mission impossible. They put it again. So with that and with Hezbollah, the options are bad, but so far Israel has been choosing the worst option. Killing Israelis in the meantime, by the way, not just committing a genocide against the Palestinian people, using brainwashed Israelis who were brought up on moral depravity and supremacy as cannon fodder, and killing their own citizens who were kidnapped, as confirmed by these people who were released and people who survived on the 7th of October. And now more revelations are being released by Israel. What does that mean? That means this country is a genocidal state. It's a genocidal death cult. It's a death machine that kills its own people, first and foremost, chews them in, takes them out, through either here or there, right? And they can make that mistake with Lebanon. And that would be a very, very, very big mistake. That was from Muhammad Itani. Thank you for your question. Silvestra Pejakic, where to look for Obeida's last speech but translate in English. Use transcript services. Use something to do with transcribing transcripts for videos. Then copy text, try and translate it somewhere. Obviously, you have Google Translate or whatever. And I think some people told me there are a kind of automatic on-demand translations in certain videos. Now, some channels don't have this add-on because it can hinder certain functionalities on YouTube. Like for example, I had 8 translations on my YouTube channel for people who are not very good in English, basically. But it started interfering for some reason, and that's as confirmed by YouTube, by the way. They clearly have a problem with other functions, so that's removed. But I heard that there are automatic services. I haven't used them personally, but you can obviously try and use them. And I'm sure some websites might have had certain translations of the highlights, maybe, if not everything. Marvin Vergus, in reference to Haaretz article or Nova killing by IDF, you think Haaretz will be attacked by Bibi government? Surprised by honest article, I didn't see it. Well, look, Haaretz is one of the oldest newspapers in Israel. It has more left-leaning ideology. Mind you, Zionism is still there, but they also share the voices of people who criticize even Zionism. Gideon Levy writes articles regularly over there. Gideon Levy is a person who is despised by many Israelis. And they have published such information before, since October, by the way, and we spoke about it at the time too, when it comes to the Nova. Now it was more to do with Israelis being kidnapped and the bases inside of Israel, by the way, but they also hinted at further Hannibal Directive ordered on Israeli citizens, not just soldiers, because the Hannibal Directive is technically only for soldiers, but Israel used it on civilians too. Although they now deny the existence of the Hannibal Directive, but everyone knows it's still there. In many cases, Israel will do something and claim that it's no longer there, but still implement it. And people know that already. I mean, people confirm that who were in the military. And will Bibi attack it? Obviously, they always attack newspapers like ours. They attack, the Netanyahu government and people with him are so extreme that they criticize profound Zionists who have right-wing views even. To them, everything is left, right? Or traitor. Anwar, thank you for your super. You said, what do you think of Germany banning the notorious red triangle? Condemn the real problem? No. Let's call an emoji anti-Semitism. I think you just answered it. Firstly, thank you so much for super, but you answered it. Let's call an emoji anti-Semitism. It shows you the state of the West in general, the state of the West. That's the freedom of speech that you have. Talk about World War II, certain things to do with the Holocaust and numbers, criticizing Israel, and speaking about the Palestinian people. Some people are petrified, you understand? And that's deliberate from the government to instill this fear. Some people piss their pants and wouldn't talk about these subjects. They instill such fear in people that they need to see a therapist. But they really need therapy. And Germany, it's the chancellor and his foreign minister are the first people who need therapy. Germany, to get citizenship now, they ask you about your views on Israel. What kind of a country are you? And what is this Israel, excuse me? Since when do countries ask people on views on a certain country as part of their citizenship? You can try and establish an idea as to what their views are in general or whatever, even though you can call that, there's an argument that that's discrimination. But, you have the right to see where the wind blows, really. Okay, but what do you think about Israel? Not like, what do you think about like human rights? How do you view this? Or that? Generics. What do you think about Israel? What do you want me to think about that? And again, anti-Semitism. That's a term that came simultaneously with Zionism. Zionism came to ethnicize Judaism. Anti-Semitism came to criminalize the criticism of Israel as a state, therefore labeling anyone criticizing Israel as a state as an anti-Semite, which is a malicious term, by the way, anti-Semite. What do you mean anti-Semite? You say anti-Jew. Anti-Jew, that's the term, if you hate Jewish people. Obviously, you're a racist. That's a form of racism. And that's how you label it. Anti-Semite? Who's it? The Ashkenazis in Western Europe? Who's a Semite? Who? Plus, does Semitism include the non-Jews of of Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon? And what is that? The whole argument. And obviously, it's evident with the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. Holocaust remembrance, international Holocaust remembrance. 7 out of 14 definitions of anti-Semitism include Israel. What is that? It's like me coming out with a term with a definition of anti-Islam or an Islamophobe. And I'll tell you, if you criticize Saudi Arabia, you're an Islamophobe. If you criticize Iran, you're an Islamophobe. I have the right to criticize every single Muslim country in the world. Them and their government and everything. And their interpretation of Islam as well. I have the right to do that. Why is this Israel so special? It's because their project and they want to save it. And the grand masters of liberty and freedom of speech will handcuff you and blindfold on you and zip your lips when it comes to Israel. And Germany is one of the leaders. They're, Israel there's like you're talking about, talk about God, prophets, everything, question everything, go against science, do whatever the hell you want to do, but don't talk about Israel. Don't talk about them. They can commit genocide, but don't talk about them. And again, thank you so much, my friend. Free Palestinians asking what Iran elections mean for Palestinians. Okay, to understand what the elections of Iran mean, you need to understand how you can become a president in Iran. For you to become a president in Iran, you need to be approved by the Supreme Council in Iran. The Supreme Council is a group of people who are there, and their intention is to preserve the Islamic Republic of Iran with the guidelines of the late Imam Khomeini and his revolution. So you already need to have a certain bar before you pass this certain thing before you go in. Then you have people who will have, a leniency here, and people who are more strict, people who are more moderate, people who are more reformist, people who are more conservative. Khatami, as an example, then you had Ahmadinejad. Khatami was considered to be a person who had good relations with Western powers. Ahmadinejad more strict. Then, we had Raisi, who's considered to be more of a hardliner. Jalili, in opposition to Pezeshkian, who won, was considered to be the favorite candidate for Khamenei, but Pezeshkian won. Pezeshkian, and he's considered to be a reformist. He had people who supported what was labeled as the Green Revolution from the time of Musawi, who had restrictions imposed on him afterwards. So clearly there are obviously differences. He's talking about lifting restrictions over like women's wear and interference when it comes to the policing, although we already have certain changes in that, which is good. You don't want to have a police state imposing like religious attributes on people. I don't personally agree with that. Clearly, many of the Iranian people don't as well. And that's why they voted for someone like him. When it comes to Palestine, it's not going to change. when it comes to Palestine, that's foreign policy. These are core principles when it comes to Iran. People need to understand that. It will not change. It never changed. It never changed since 1979. Iran had a direct support for the Palestinian cause before organizations like they're supporting now, like Hamas, or before Hezbollah, before all of that. They declared that since their establishment as a country. So that's not going to change with the president, because you still have a supreme leader, you still have a council, you still have the IRGC, you still have all of that. It's not going to change. And he's going to continue supporting them. They already had communications from the resistance movements and the new president. So Iran's position is going to remain the same, supporting the resistance and still calculating its moves. They calculate their moves, whether you have a more conservative president or a more reformist president. They're still very calculated, because this is how they operate. It's a country that operates, on a set of principles within international law and what have you. And we said that has been evident in the last several months. But they obviously will not hesitate to call Israel what it is, a child-murdering Zionist entity, and support the resistance verbally and physically. That's how you should act, really, with a case that's so evident. And Iran is the bravest country when it comes to Palestine. They are the bravest country officially. So, because if you talk about other countries, right, some of them will, say good things or have support in different ways. Some of them are obviously, completely complicit. And the movements who support are movements. They're not acting on an official state level. Iran acts on an official state level. And life would have been easier for them if they haven't. But that's why we say these people act out of faith. They act out of principle. And they're willing to pay the price. And they confront. They're not scared. So we obviously wish him, the new president of Iran, all the best. And we wish Iran as a country all the best in the future as well. And Munzer as well, thank you so much for your super. Munzer Shihab, thank you very much. Holy Home, Mahmoud, has Hamas dropped any of their terms as Western media claims? The thick lines haven't been dropped. What are the thick lines? Ending the war, withdrawing from Gaza, allowing all people everywhere in Gaza, rebuilding Gaza, all aid in. And then obviously reaching a ceasefire. The terminology, the phases, when will that be confirmed? All of that is a matter of debate, and Hamas showed leniency with that. And the side that's been conceding now the most is Israel, not Hamas. Hamas showing leniency, showing an understanding. Israel is conceding. Israel did not want to talk in the beginning. No talking, no negotiating. We're all there to destroy you. This is what the tone was. Then when they started going in, they called everything that Hamas said delusional, ending the war, ceasefire, releasing the hostages with a ceasefire. They wanted them to release their prisoners under fire. Right? Under fire. They wanted them to release the Israeli prisoners. Hamas said, no way. Now everything that was unrealistic became realistic and acceptable. And no, we can't defeat them. And anyone who's saying we can defeat them is throwing sand in the eyes of the people, like the IDF spokesperson claimed the other day. Who's conceding? But Hamas are obviously showing leniency because they do have an interest to get a ceasefire, but they haven't dropped the thick lines. What they are negotiating with and upon are the details. How long, what's the confirmation for the next phase? All of them support and are backed by the essential principles, and that's even confirmed by Israel. That is confirmed by Israel, that the main things are agreed upon. Now, how do we do it? How do we translate it? Because Israel has a big interest in not showing it as a defeat, as an agreement of defeat, an agreement of humiliation. And this is what they're considering first and foremost, by the way, because many of the moves that Benjamin Netanyahu is conducting are moves for public opinion. People already used to say in the temporary ceasefire that you have been defeated and you conceded and you gave them everything, because they resisted everything and they accepted everything at the same time. And now they know they're going to have to do the same thing, but they don't want to be seen as a country that's conceding and that is defeated and submitting to the will of the Palestinian resistance. Again, arrogance. You're talking about an existential war, at least Israel officially. They're calling it an existential war, and we might collapse. If you are in an existential threat, there is nothing wrong with admitting defeat and conceding. Would you rather die or admit defeat? No, I'll take the loss, but keep myself, right? I'll take the loss, preserve myself, strengthen myself, recover, what have you. But they want everything with their arrogance, not admitting, not this, not that, and because they're led by lunatics, and obviously the apartheid system in Israel enables that. So if we do reach a deal, it will be a deal that will be in the benefit of the Palestinian people, be beneficial for the Palestinian people, and it will be an agreement where Israel conceded in for the most part. And the resistance, obviously, they have to give and take. They showed leniency, but they haven't given up the core principles. That's why we're seeing such a delay. If it was such a straightforward thing, or if the resistance was in a weak position, you would have had an agreement from before. Hamas would be begging for a ceasefire, right? And the fact of the matter is they are pushing so much under this barbaric attack, this medieval barbarism done in Gaza by Israel, supported by Western powers and other countries surrounding Israel, some of the Arab states too, by being silent and enabling it, right? That's what's happening. And the Palestinian resistance, they obviously have a consensus too. This is something that everyone needs to understand. Hamas is talking on behalf of everyone else. You have 13 resistance movements in Gaza, and everything is in line with the needs of the Palestinian people. They view the benefits for the Palestinian people, the security of the Palestinian people, lifting the suffering of the Palestinian people as the main thing. And they will not stop up until they reach that. And I would be surprised if we see anything different, really. Even if you talk about a temporary first phase or continue, because even with the first phase, they said, we need a confirmation that Israel cannot break the ceasefire if we don't agree on all of the details of phase 2 and 3. And that was the main cause of the delay. That's why President Biden himself had to go and declare that if they do not agree on phase 2, the ceasefire will continue. The president himself had to say that. What does that tell you? That tells you that they are doing their best to meet the demands of Hamas, but without showing too much evidence of defeat. Bibi still has the need to go out to the public and tell them, look, I can go back and shoot them tomorrow, or whatever it is. But the agreement, obviously, he will be bound by it, and they need to receive the guarantees and all of these things. But again, Western media, when you talk about Western media, you're talking about the worst type of spinners and manipulators. Talking about Rupert Murdoch. They put prime ministers in, they take countries down, they manipulate the people to go to genocidal wars, they manipulate the people to do harmful things for their own country. Most Western media is Rupert Murdoch. Who do you think supported Keir Starmer to come to power? When they want someone, they'll bring him in and they'll support him and they'll make him acceptable and they'll say a couple of good things. Irene is saying, did you see how the Iranians welcomed the Palestinian martyred family members in Tehran? They also put out the world's biggest Palestinian flag, the best of the best, mashallah. I haven't actually, but that doesn't surprise me. That totally does not surprise me. Like I said, that's something that is in the core of Iran as a government and as people too. GI saying Americans, UK, France, NGOs are helping replace the dogs in Gaza and gathering info. But what do you know about it? The United States, the UK, France, and other Western countries have shown themselves as the genocide supporters. So it's nothing new. They will do any malicious thing to support this genocidal state. The US is obviously the big enabler, worse than all of them. The UK sending intel and info, spy planes, spy missions over Gaza, 200. Instead of gathering info about war crimes, they gather info for the genocidal state, including when they killed their own people in Gaza. Abhorrent stuff. But again, that's normal. I mean, what are we expecting from the US, from the UK, from France? You know, you're talking about countries with a far bigger history in genocide and colonialism and occupation and enslavement. What are we talking about? Israel is a small player next to them. Israel is a 7-Eleven and they're the grand big master supermarkets, you know? So there's nothing surprising there. But all I'll tell you is obviously the Palestinians are aware, you know, of such attempts. Now, some people will come with genuine support and that's evident, obviously, if you're talking about certain people and what have you. And with regards to anything important or not important, the fact of the matter is, if they think about it this way, helping to replace and gathering info, let's do. Israel is on the ground for 9 months, causing so much destruction, planting any spyware device they want to anywhere they like, and they still haven't affected the resistance. The resistance still can communicate freely and operate freely, under the ground and over the ground. What is this other NGOs going to come in with, or plane, a surveillance plane? What are they going to do? Yeah, they can come up with a couple of things here and there, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything because Israel, the country with the biggest interest to take these people down, haven't been able to take them down, or their intel down, or their communications down, or nothing for 9 months. What's a poor American NGO undercover or whatever is going to do? And again, you know, the people are aware of it. Lynn Faulkner, Mahmoud, what do you think of the report that Hamas said it would now treat their prisoners like the Israelis treat theirs? I think it's a threat, and I don't think they will actually do it. And I'll tell you why. In the beginning of the war, Abu Obeida had a statement. And in his statement, he said that if you continue your attacks and your genocide against our people, we're going to have to start killing your prisoners. Did they? They didn't. But they used it. They made an attempt to stop the genocide by using this as leverage. And Israel proved to them that they clearly don't care about their people because they're after them and killing them anyway. But at the same time, the resistance knows that they cannot kill them because there's the biggest cards in their hands. So I personally think it's just a threat. I don't think they're going to do it. And that's also, you need to understand, a lot of what the Palestinian resistance do is psychological warfare against Israel and the Israeli population. So the Israeli families of the prisoners, and they're listening to Abu Obeida. What do you think? They're not listening. They're listening to him. So they will listen. They will be fuming, and they will take their rage out on who? On Netanyahu. And, you know, that's been working. That's been working. And that's why you had people in the government calling the Israeli protesters Hamas supporters, because they act on the orders of Hamas, according to some people in the government. The Israeli protesters, just because they want their people out and they're opposing the government, they became Hamas supporters. Infinite Content, thank you so much for your super. You said, Mahmoud, do you think Hezbollah might absorb Galilee and the Golan and allow the Palestinians to move there in a peace deal? Just thinking. They are able to occupy, they are able to control, But in terms of like having a settled status there, that's what we're. This is where things get tricky because okay, you can come in, you can occupy, you can take a certain area or what have you. Then you obviously need to start doing certain declarations. Obviously, the other side will be challenging it. You already have talks in Israel that the North is lost. Blinken said Israel lost sovereignty in the North. Hell, one of the settlements declared independence. There was a call for most Galilee settlements to declare independence. That didn't go through. Clearly, they pacified them. But one of the Margaliot said that where we disconnect our relation with the country and with the army, and we don't allow the army to operate here. So they can do that, but for that to reach a stage where, you know, it's settled, takes some time. Look at Russia and Ukraine, for example. You know, now you have more talks. You know, Orban spoke with Zelensky, spoke with Putin. Some people are calling the agreement that's about to come a submission from Ukraine. You know, they want a temporary ceasefire to try and reach a deal. Putin's saying no ceasefire. Confirm that the territories, the 4 territories that we have in dispute are Russian territories, and that's it. Confirm that you're not going into the NATO, and no problem. We won't have a ceasefire. We will end it because he doesn't want ceasefire for them to prepare and go and attack them. So if that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, imagine what's going to happen with Hezbollah and Israel. You know, they're going to still be talking about, oh no, and this and that. Hezbollah obviously will withdraw the historical debate, rightfully so. Like, you occupied this land in 1948, it wasn't yours. Look, you occupy this and that. Look how many UN resolutions, whatever. We had to take them, whatever it is. And it will be a long time. But they definitely have the capability to do that. And Israel is preparing for that. And I'm not sure that Israel has a sufficient answer for it too, by the way, because they will not be acting in hostile environment, by the way, because most of the Israeli settlers are out of the settlement. They're ghost towns now. They're going to have certain Israeli forces, but they know where they are. They have the info, they have the intel. They target the place before the Israelis are there, before the IDF is there. The IDF will set up a command base in the middle of a town that's populated in a certain area, far away from the region, but still in the Galilee. They'll target them. And they won't affect anything else, by the way. So clearly Hezbollah have eyes and ears in Israel, more than Israel has ears and eyes in Lebanon. And that's possible. Samson is saying, Mahmoud brother, will any of our cowardly Arab brothers' countries ever do anything meaningful to stop the war? I mean, you name the cowardly Arab, I'd say leaders, obviously, because, you know, many Arab people support the Palestinian people, but the countries, they've shown that they are totally complicit. You know, being silent is complicit. Well, you know, you have your lips sealed. What does that mean? You're complicit. You're serving the aggressor. And don't tell me, oh, we expect more and we condemn. Boo-hoo, who cares? Don't show me what you're doing. There's a genocide going. What are you doing? Last thing, bare minimum, you know, have a clear approach and statement. Secondly, use some leverage. You don't want to take your armies to Israel. There are 1,000 things to do. And they have leverage. It's not like they don't have leverage. Saudi Arabia, for example, they used leverage in 1973 with oil. And it had devastating effects on US economy. So don't expect anything from them. Tishikomi saying, is it true that Hamas agreed with the US back deal? They in principle agreed on the proposal with the minor details. You know, they say the devil lies with in the details. That's what the devil is there. So they're talking about the devil now. the details. How, when, who, Israel, confirm, not confirm. What does that word mean in Hebrew? What does that word mean in Arabic? We want a confirmation that this word means this exact same thing. All of that. So no one understands, anything in a different manner. And all of that is coming from Hamas, by the way. Most of it. Why? Because they want the full confirmation that this genocidal state is going to stop. They want that. But again, so long as the declaration hasn't been made, hello, ladies and gentlemen, public announcement from Hamas and from Israel. We both announce we reached a ceasefire. It hasn't happened yet. Omsi, what will affect the West when more Zionists go to their home countries as right-wing nationalism become more popular in the West? It's not guaranteed that if Israelis leave Israel, they will have right-wing stances in other countries, by the way. And there's a debate in Israel about that. You see, the ironic thing is that Israel, as a Zionist country, portrays itself to be defending the Jewish people and the Jewish state. Yet it has alliances with extreme right-wing figures in Europe. Okay, many people in Israel criticize that. How can you call yourself a Jewish and align yourself with Orban, for example? Viktor Orban, Netanyahu and Orban are close. Orban has a base that some people claim to have anti-Semitic views or anti-Jewish views, but Netanyahu is aligned with him. So it's not as if these people will have the same political views abroad. They will have the political views that support them. So let's say Zionism is dismantled now. There is no Zionism. We don't need to support the state. No, they will do what serves them as a community. And you're talking about people with profound, care for this religious identity, or some people wouldn't care. They would just want to live anywhere and they just want to live normally. People, bigoted zealots, even they will be split. Paul Ambrose, Mahmoud, can you explain the difference between Shia and Sunni as it's overblown by the MSM? How does that affect Palestine? Well, firstly, Shia and Sunni are terms that came after Islam. Islam as a religion did not come with terms, Sunni or Shia. Like the Prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad, he didn't say I'm Sunni or I'm Shia. Neither did the caliphs, nor Ali ibn Abi Talib himself, radiallahu anhu, claimed that I'm a Shia, for example. So these terms started to come afterwards when Muslims started to fight over who rules the Muslim world, and they started killing each other. And some people claim that the family line of the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the fourth caliph, Ali ibn Abi Talib, had more right to control Muslims, whereas others didn't view it that way. So you started to have a split, political, not religious, political, who rules who. But then that political feud over who governs and who rules started to have a religious shape, started to have religious texts and things that are not really related to the Quran or Islam itself. So this obviously carried on, and to this day, obviously, there are some people in both sides, and there are obviously other denominations in Islam who have different interpretations when it comes to religion or who is to govern who or whatever. When you talk about a political entity, even. Obviously, this case is of 1,400 years old, right? Western colonialism, mainly after the occupation of Iraq, they played on that card, and they had mouthpieces on both sides. in the Muslim world to say, oh no, Shia, Sunni, these are kuffar, heretics, this and that. They were playing with both sides. Some people realized the game and they distanced themselves from it. They had responsibility. Others did not. They got sucked into the game of Sunni Shia. Because the US, think tanks in the US, one of them called the 21st century the 100-year war between Sunnis and Shias, right? Who does that serve? Muslims fighting. Serves the US, serves Israel. They love that. That's why they constantly use the terms, oh Sunni, oh Shia, Sunni. What do you mean Sunni, Shia? Sunnis and Shia in principle, they agree on over 99% of things. Couple of things here and there, who is more entitled to lead? Well, most things we agree on them, right? Sunni and Shia. Oneness of God, the prophets, the book, the 5 pillars of Islam, the 6 pillars of Iman or faith, 7 pillars of faith. Some obviously distinguish between them. So that's a big part. That's why you'll obviously hear the Zionists like to play on it, the enemies of the people of the region like to play on it, the colonialists like to play on it, and ignorant Muslims also play on it too. I don't. So I hope that elaborates. And that looks like that was the last one here from Paul. So unless I missed something, let me just check quickly this live chat here. Oh, I missed one of the. I missed one from K. Do you think the failure of the USA to obtain ceasefire is because of the pro-Israel lobby controlling the USA and Blinken being insincere, representing himself as a Jew first, and not USA Secretary of State? The US failure to obtain a ceasefire is first and foremost due to the fact that the USA is filled with hypocrisy and double standards. Yesterday, you were saying, kill them, eliminate them, destroy them. The Palestinian civilians, oh no, collateral damage, don't talk to me about them. No, Hamas hide between them. All of a sudden, oh no, Israel is killing civilians. What's that tone? Filled with hypocrisy and double standards. You had a genuine stance. You take it from day one. Like even Keir Starmer here. He now he denies that he said cut the water and electricity of the people of Gaza, and as if he did not demand his party to vote against the ceasefire. Against. All of them have blood on their hands. All of these people. So firstly, you have this hypocrite double standard position. Okay, that's number one. So from an Israeli perspective, they look like it. Hold on a second. You were supporting us completely to ethnically cleanse them. And now you're telling us no and ceasefire. And no, there are human beings being killed. What happened? I thought you agreed with us that these people are human animals and we're entitled to completely ethnically cleanse them. So if you talk about insincerity or lack of integrity, that's a core principle to anyone who wants to take the top position in a Western country nowadays. And their lack of success is due to this double standard. if they've had a strong approach from the beginning, okay? Firstly, whenever a big event happens, take a breath. Don't get sucked into what's happening. Don't buy into this false narrative immediately. Wait, read between the lines. Who's benefiting? Who's not benefiting? What really happened? What are they telling me? What are they not telling me? And don't be very quick to take a position. No one's forcing you to take a position. But obviously, the powers that want you to have a certain position will try in everything to manipulate you and instill fear so that you can support them or shut up on the other side so they can do what they want to do. If they took a step and thought, hold on a second, no, how did it happen? You usually have excellent security. Where was your army? What did your army do on the day? Are you gonna use our weapons? Where are you gonna use them? Are you gonna land them on civilian buildings? If they took that from day one, then Israel would have felt like there is something, right? But they were probably as delusional as Israel when it comes to the firepower, thinking that will eliminate it and get everything out and done. And they were so malicious that they were lobbying Egypt to open the borders completely, ethnic, all of the Palestinian population, to complete the ethnic cleansing. The Americans were there, the British government, the French government, German. Take all of the Palestinians, let's get rid of them once and for all. And to be fair to Egypt at that time, that was a position that was very strong at the time and prevented an ethnic cleansing campaign from happening. Regardless of our criticism on other steps that they did or did not take, the position of not allowing to open the borders completely and take everyone out, something that Israel wanted, and they would have completely sealed them off and would have completed the ethnic cleansing of 2023, 2024, like they did in 1948, you'd have had a different situation. So obviously, how can they be successful? You are complicit. You are an enabler. You're worse than Israel. Well, the US government, they're worse than Israel. They're the enabler. And that was from Kate. And that was the last one. Wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me for this live stream. Much appreciated. Nice being with you. Thank you to all of our members, subscribers, and viewers for your time. Thank you to all of our new members and new subscribers as well. Special thanks to everyone who sent supers. Sumera Z, Diane, Infinite, Content, Anwar, and Munzer. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. As discussed, I had just one video earlier on that you can go ahead and watch. Apart from that, I'll hopefully be with you tomorrow. Have a lovely week ahead and stay blessed. Peace be on all of you, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.